Hello and welcome to the IWLA's Food Council 5-part series on best food safety practices. My name's Katie Poe Harbaugh and I will be presenting the webinar today. The series was created by Standard Distribution Director of Operations Wendy Schaefer and the ASI Director of Food Safety Jeanette Hugh. This first part focuses on just the basics of your standard operating procedures. Please stay tuned for the remaining 4 sections, which will go into more detail. IWLA Food Council 5-part series, Best Food Safety Practices. This part 1 is the basics, standard operating procedures. Written procedures for product protection. You should have trailer and goods inspection guidelines, handling and storage guidelines, pest control guidelines, cleaning procedures including machinery guidelines, and recall and HACCP, your emergency planning documentation. Trailer and goods inspection programs need written programs that cover at least the basics. Your trailer inspection criteria should include cleanliness, pest evidence, temperature, your frozen foods should be frozen and your fresh food should not be too hot, and your trailer seals should be intact. Incoming goods inspections also need to have a clear chain of authority. Inspection of the goods and trailer are a great start. Don't forget the importance of the paperwork. Paperwork is a key element to transporting goods. It carries necessary information that must be verified and maintained. Things to look at on the paperwork include the bill of lading numbers or the PO numbers, required temperatures to transport and warehouse the products in order to maintain its safety, lot numbers, batch numbers and code dates, and the seal number of the trailer. Goods names and product identifiers should also be verified as well. All information surrounding the goods should be listed on these documents and must be verified, documented, and maintained. Standard operating procedures for handling and material storage. Written procedures for product protection should include safety of the water supply. Your water should be tested annually and the records should be maintained. Also, you should have rework and regrind procedures written down. Follow the SOPs for your rework area. Regulatory inspections, be conscious of those. Customer service programs, associate training, material handling programs, and lot tracking and sustainability programs as well. The written procedures for product protection should include a quarantine procedure, an allergen control procedure, and glass control procedure. There should never be any glass in the processing area, and you need to have written documentation on what to do if you have glass that breaks and how you're going to safely dispose of that broken glass. Proper storage conditions include do not store raw materials on the floor. They should be kept off the floor. You need to check for allergens and also quarantined goods. Those need to be segregated and clearly identified. As far as the temperatures are concerned, the degrees are listed there. The freezers should be at 0 degrees Fahrenheit or below. The coolers, including the cut produce, should be kept at 41 degrees Fahrenheit and below. And your confectionery goods should be kept at 70 degrees Fahrenheit or below. Here we have a picture of the proper storage of general materials. You can notice that they're kept 6 inches off the floor, and a good benchmark for that is to keep everything on pallets. Don't let anything sit directly on the floor. The raw material and finished product tests. Each plant must have one of the following programs for raw materials. You need to have the ability to test the raw material, a certificate of analysis for the load, or a supplier quality guarantee. And you must also have the written SOPs and the corrective action needs to be on file, including quarantine records and recall procedures and mock recalls. This picture is a proper storage of raw materials example. You notice that raw materials are never stored mixed in with finished goods. I like this picture because it shows everything categorized by like items. Everything is off the floor. It's neat and tidy. It's a good example. Continuing on, no cross-contamination or adulteration. You should not have your raw, like I mentioned, raw mixed with ready to eat. Your shell eggs need to be segregated. Your chemicals need to be segregated. You need to check your coolers. Don't allow any dripping cooler condensation, no snow or ice. You also need to look up no unprotected pipes overhead or obstacles that may cause the flaking of paint, the dripping of water, or unprotected insulation. Just make sure your facilities are properly maintained. The biological hazards of cross-contamination include pathogens, a disease-causing organism. And the 4 types of pathogens are bacteria, yeasts and molds, viruses, and parasites. The chemical and physical of adulteration could be cleaners, sanitizers, allergens, grease and oil, steam, loose metal, and glass and plexiglass. There are 8 major types of allergens, and those include peanuts, soy and soy products, milk and milk products, egg and egg products, fin fish, crustaceans including shrimp, crab, and lobster, tree nuts like almonds or walnuts, and of course wheat. And because allergens are so important in this day and age, we are devoting an entire series regarding allergens, and there will be much more information in that, so make sure you stay tuned. Moving on to pest control. You need to prevent adulteration by pests at all costs, and pest control should be handled by licensed professionals only. The most effective measures for pest control include good sanitation, effective incoming goods inspections, and keeping your doors and windows closed and screened. We all enjoy the fresh air and sunlight, but it will not help your pest control in any way. These photos are some examples of some common pests. They probably look familiar to you. Rodents like rats or mice, cockroaches, stored product pests like grain weevils, and of course birds and flies. Stored product pests like grain weevils and Indian meal moths can already be in the product when it's delivered. And they can also hatch in grain-based products due to high heat and humidity, which is another reason why it's so important to check the temperature of your trailer upon arrival and also maintain your facility temperature. Bird control, there are a few things that you can do to assist with that. Eliminate any of their roosts that you see, knock down nests, make sure there are no tree limbs next to your building. You can install netting underneath the awnings so they're not able to build nests in your awnings. Like we said before, keep your doors closed, and of course use avicides where allowed. Flies can pose a greater health hazard than the cockroach and can transmit disease with feet and vomit. Pest infestation is critical if either observed and also if evidence is found. You need to be looking for evidence in and on your raw materials, your work in progress, and in your finished products, as well as your packaging supplies. Pest infestation may not be critical. It depends on the insect found. Look at your equipment and the structure of your facility, including the ancillary areas and the exterior. Consider what type of products you're storing or the services you're providing. Flies in a processing area is critical. Flies in a canned goods storage warehouse, not critical. An integrated pest management program is crucial. You should make sure you have a licensed pest control company with a licensed pest control technician, and it must be current. They should also have a certificate of insurance and MSDS sheets on the elimination chemicals, and you should keep sample pesticide labels, and you can keep copies of those right in your MSDS book. Also, your licensed technician should maintain proper logs. Part 2 in this series is dedicated to pest control and facility maintenance, so that will be coming up next time. Written cleaning procedures. You need to know which chemicals are needed and allowed, as well as the chemical concentrations, the equipment needed, pre-cleanup preparation, what do you need to contain the mess, and which PPEs do you need to have on hand ready to go. You also need to have an SOP for your post-cleanup evaluation, including proper disposal. And you should also have a master sanitation schedule. Make it easy on yourself. Know who is supposed to clean what when. At our company, we have a master sanitation schedule that has a list of things that need to be cleaned annually, semi-annually, monthly, bi-monthly, weekly, and daily. Therefore, the janitorial staff can simply go to that list and check off when things are done. And of course, you must keep your MSDS sheets on file for all cleaning products that can be found inside your facility. Employee health and hygiene. You must have a written GMP policy. No one with contagious illness should be around any of your product without the PPEs. You also, when required, should have proper hair covering and no jewelry of any kind when you're dealing with raw goods. You also are not allowed no eating, drinking, use of tobacco products, and of course, proper hand washing always. Maintenance and repairs. Keep maintenance and repair logs for all work performed. Always analyze the actual conditions. Look at the interior and the exterior of the buildings. Look at all the ancillary rooms. And look at the sanitation facilities. Your overhead fixtures. Your bulbs should be properly shielded, whether that's by use of plastic sleeves, covers, or treated light bulbs. Also, no open walkways, and make sure you have catch pans under the motors. When looking at your floors, walls, and ceilings, check for holes and cracks. These could be places where insects could be living. Look for pest entry points. Holes and cracks and fan louvers are examples of where those can enter. Also, look for roof leaks. When looking at the condition of your equipment, make sure the surfaces are free of corrosion. There should not, and also look for the rust on the exterior and above where the equipment is stored. That can easily drop down onto your equipment. You should also have temperature recorders in place, and your equipment should be in good repair and cleanable using food grade, non-toxic chemicals, non-absorbent, and chemical resistant. Only food grade lubricants should be used on your equipment, and you should not allow any temporary repairs such as tape, cardboard, string, etc. They cannot be cleaned and they can cause adulteration. The exterior of your facility should be litter-free. The weeds and overgrowth needs to be cut. There should not be any pooling water. It should be paved. There needs to be an 18-inch no-growth strip around the exterior. And always keep your compactor and dumpster lids closed. You also should have your garbage cans covered, your equipment properly stored, and you should avoid storing pallets outside in order to reduce pest harborage. If your facility is considered a sanitary facility, things to look for include water potability, places where water can pool and become contaminated. Cross connections. You need to be aware of how you can cross-contaminate within your own facility. And a lot of guidelines on that subject will be discussed in the allergen series. Also, proper backflow prevention. Make sure that the facility is following your own procedure for water potability. Floor drains should be kept clean and clear. You need to provide proper hand washing stations for your employees. The sinks should have tempered water at 110 degrees Fahrenheit, and the water must be able to stay on for at least 20 seconds. You also need to provide paper towels, or warm air dryers in order to dry the hands completely. Please note that sanitizer alone is not acceptable. You must provide soap and water at the hand washing stations. Your garbage should be removed promptly. Also, keep your edible and inedible garbage separate. You don't need to have edible garbage cans in the middle of your facility. Your garbage cans should be kept clean. Put that on your janitorial list. Odor problems should be taken care of right away and identified, and you should be using plastic liners inside your trash cans. Again, keep your dumpsters and compactors lids closed, and make sure that there's no leakage out of your garbage can on the ground. If there is, you need to replace your garbage can. There are 3 different clean types of facilities, and the definitions are as follows. Clean indicates that the facility should be free of visible dirt. Sanitary is defined as free of disease-causing organisms, and sterile is free of all living organisms. Basic housekeeping in your dock and storage areas. Things to look for, just make sure everything is neat and tidy. Everything is in its place. Everything has a place. Your products should be free of dust, and your storage slots should be cleaned out whenever they are empty. Make sure your spills are picked up promptly and sweeping is being performed regularly. Also, make sure you're cleaning your forklifts and clamps. In the processing areas, you should be looking at your floors, walls, ledges and ceilings, overhead beams and pipes, light ballasts, fan blades, air vents, and several others. These are just to name a few. In your restroom and break room, obviously you need to keep those clean, but they should also be properly supplied. You need to have hot and cold water, hand wash signs, paper towels and air dryers, antibacterial soap, and a waste receptacle which is covered in the ladies' restroom. In your housekeeping equipment area, you need to make sure you have adequate janitorial equipment, and all cleaning equipment should be stored in a sanitary, secure, and safe manner. Your mops should be hung up, your mop buckets emptied, and your dry vacs need to be cleaned regularly. Also, make sure your cleaning solutions are locked up. Now moving on to recall. Make sure you have your step-by-step instructions ready to go. You need to be able to complete a full recall within 4 hours. You can help get ready for these by conducting mock recalls on finished products or raw ingredient traceability. Make sure you have a list of your in-house personnel, including their home and after-hours telephone numbers, and the same for your customer contacts. Make sure you have that information ready to go. The 7 principles of HACCP: assess the hazards, establish critical control points, establish the critical limits, establish monitoring procedures, establish corrective action, verification procedures, and record keeping. Your HACCP program must be documented with all steps recorded. You need to have a flow chart and table on file with records, corrective actions shown, and verification documented. You need to be able to prove that it was in effect and provide confirmation upon inspection, and be ready for an annual reassessment. I thank you for participating in the IWLA Food Council SOP Basics Part 1. Please stay in touch for Part 2, an in-depth view of pest control management. It's coming soon.
Thank you for taking part in this overview of standard operating procedures. I'm Wendy Schaefer, Operations Manager of Standard Distribution Company and a member of the IWLA. Food safety is critical to the health and well-being of our society and one of the largest responsibilities as part of the supply chain. Please watch for the second portion of this 5-part series. We will present an in-depth education on pest control policies, practices, reporting, auditing, and control.